Good morning, children. Today in Social Science and History in Class 9, we continue the lesson Nazism and the Rise of Hitler. Ordinary people and the crime against humanity. People reacted in different ways. Many ordinary people genuinely believed that Nazism would bring prosperity and improve general well-being, because they had faced all kinds of crises, and whenever they looked at the Jews, they had a feeling of anger and hatred towards them. And this was because of the Nazi ideas and the propaganda. In fact, they marked Jew houses and reported suspicious neighbors. Then there was also the fact that every German was not a Nazi. Some Germans organized active resistance to Nazism, and they suffered police repression. They were punished, they were threatened, they were tortured in many different ways. So we see that all of them were not supporters of the Nazi ideas, but out of fear and terror, some of them kept quiet. Large majority of Germans were passive onlookers, that they did not react and were mere witnesses. They were too scared, they were too frightened, they were too terrified to act or to differ openly and protest against the brutal and organized crimes that were committed against people. And most of these crimes were committed against the Jews, against the physically unfit, gypsies, and so on. If we see at that time, Jews died many deaths before they reached the gas chamber. Because they were tortured in so many ways, they began to believe whatever Nazi ideas had spread among the people, that was all true. Because they had this hatred against the Jews had become so very strong among the people that even they came to believe that probably that was right. So the knowledge about the Holocaust, some of the horrible practices trickled out of Germany during the last years of the war. They had felt that nobody will come to know outside the country, but in the last years of the regime of the Nazis and Hitler's rule, some of this information reached out to the other people also. But the actual extent was known after the German defeat in 1945. They came to know that how the Jews had suffered, the atrocities during the Nazi rule called the Holocaust. They maintained, and they were in these camps, and they maintained diaries, notebooks in ghettos, the places where they were made to stay and live, and camps, the concentration camps and all that, and tell the world the happenings, that is, what has happened there, what has happened to them, and how the cruelty that was inflicted upon the Jews. On the other hand, the Nazis tried to destroy these evidences because they did not want to leave any evidence or proof for the others to see. So they destroyed these evidences when they had come to realize that now they were going to lose the war, that they are not going to win, that they will be defeated. So the history and memory of the Holocaust lived on in memoirs, fiction, documentaries, poetry, memorials, museums in many parts of the world. So we see that after the defeat of Germany in the First World War and the abdication of the emperor, the Weimar Republic had come to be established, and Weimar Republic was forced to sign the Treaty of Versailles with the Allied powers, and the terms and conditions of this treaty were very harsh and humiliating, but they were left with no choice. Then we see that how the Communist Party and the Socialist Party could never come together and they could never work together. Then Germany could not manage the financial crisis and faced hyperinflation in 1923 when the prices of goods of daily use increased sharply. The years of the Great Depression of 1929 to 32 further damaged the German economy when production and employment reduced drastically. And all this crisis that Germany faced in the economy, that paved the way for Hitler's rise to power. Because there was so much of instability, there was so much of chaos and confusion over there. So Hitler promised to build a strong nation and undo the injustice of the Treaty of Versailles, bring back the dignity of the German people, and create opportunities for the unemployed people, for the youth in particular. So he began to bring an end to the democratic system over there and the fire decree, by means of which the civic rights of the people, like freedom of speech, press and assembly, those were suspended. Then the Enabling Act made him completely powerful. And he began to then implement his ideas about creating a pure racial community of Nordic Germans. The hatred against the Jews, how the Jews, Gypsies and the blacks they were termed as undesirables. So the Jews were the ones who suffered the most in Germany during his rule. Then the youth organizations that came to take place, they were the organizations like the Jungvolk, that how at age 10, at 14 and 18, how they were united so that they could become strong and they could then later on eventually fight in the war, and they began to worship Hitler. So they were trained right from the beginning. At a very young age only, they were trained in such a manner. Then the women played an important role in the sense that they were expected to rear pure-blooded Aryan children. They were also asked not to maintain any kind of contact with the Jews, with the Poles or the Russians. In case anybody did that, then they were punished severely. So when Germany lost the Second World War in 1945, Hitler committed suicide because he could not take that defeat. He could not bear it. It was only after the war the rest of the world came to realize the horrors of all that had taken place in Germany. The atrocities and sufferings the Jews had faced during the Nazi killing operations are called the Holocaust. The world came to know about this by means of diaries and notebooks, which the people, when they were living in these camps, they maintained so that the rest of the world could know what had taken place over there and how they had all suffered. Thank you.